whispers in the concrete shadows. The friends, energized by their discovery, gathered closely around the mysterious tome as Elena, with hands trembling slightly from excitement, traced the faded gold lettering on its cover. Her eyes, wide with the thrill of the unknown, met each of her friends in turn, urging them into the secret world contained within the ancient pages. Mike, with a protective steadiness, watched over the group, his mind calculating the risks of their late-night escapade. Sophie, her curiosity piqued by the book's intricate illustrations, leaned in closer, her glasses reflecting the faint light as she deciphered the strange symbols sketched in the margins. David, always ready to dive deeper into the enigma, pulled out his phone, using its flashlight to cast a ghostly glow over the text, making the old words dance eerily in the shadows. Lila, sensing a shift in the energy, murmured a quiet warning, her intuition alarmed by the sudden chill that swept through the dusty air. Yet, the allure of the forbidden was too strong, and together they listened as Elena began to read aloud from the book, her voice a soft but clear whisper that filled the heavy silence of the forgotten library aisle. Unseen by the group, the shadows around them deepened, as if drawing closer to listen to the ancient words that had not been spoken in centuries. As the night unfolded, the city's usual cacophony blended with unnerving whispers that seemed to call out from the concrete itself. Mike, navigating through the familiar streets, began to sense a shift in the city he thought he knew like the back of his hand. Storefronts looked back with hollow, darkened eyes, and alleyways whispered secrets of the newly awakened horrors. The friends, still buoyed by the thrill of their discovery, remained unaware that with each step, they drew more attention from the shadows that stalked them silently. Back at the library, the ancient book lay open, its pages fluttering as though breathing in the city's nocturnal life. Soon, reports of missing persons began to trickle in, each vanishing as mysteriously as the last. The city's vibrant lights dimmed ever so slightly under the weight of the unseen dread. Elena, recalling the strange coldness they all felt during the recitation, began to connect the chilling dots. Her voice, when she spoke her fears aloud, was a mix of fascination and fear. The group's laughter had faded, replaced by a growing realization of the gravity of their act. Sophie's intuition that something was amiss became a palpable tension gripping her heart. Her designs, usually bursting with color and life, now echoed the darker, twisted visages that haunted the city's corners. David, piecing together eyewitness accounts with historical data from his searches, uncovered chilling similarities with past folklore incidents. Lila, feeling the disturbance deep in her bones, turned to her spiritual practices, seeking protection and answers. The concrete jungle around them was no longer just a bustling metropolis, but a hunting ground, and they, unknowingly, had sounded the dinner bell. As the sinister figures, cloaked in the guise of ordinary humans, wove through the crowd, the hunters had marked their prey, guided by the echoes of ancient words spoken in unwitting folly. The city's incessant hum and vibrant nightlife could hardly mask the palpable tension that clung to Elena and her friends as they ventured deeper into the urban labyrinth. The once familiar streets now seemed to twist and turn into endless dark corridors, each shadow a potential hideout for the horrors they faced. Their destination was the park, a place recently clouded by disappearances and whispered rumors of unnatural figures cloaked in the guise of joggers and late-night strollers. Elena led the way, her brown eyes scanning every face they passed, searching for any sign of the uncanny. The text, tucked securely under her arm, felt heavier with each step, a constant reminder of the grave mistake they had made. Beside her, Mike kept a vigilant watch. The memory of his transformed neighbor haunted him, sharpening his senses to any oddity in the behavior of passersby. Sophie, clutching her sketchbook where she had scribbled down every symbol and script from the ancient tome, stayed close to David. His laptop bag bounced against his hip as he moved, the glow from his screen illuminating maps dotted with markers and notes. Lila walked slightly apart, her mind attuned to the subtle shifts in the environment, her senses trying to detect any disturbance in the natural order. Their plan was desperate but clear: find a skinwalker, retrieve a personal item to complete the ritual, and end the nightmare. As they reached the park, the urban noise faded into an eerie silence, broken only by the distant sound of traffic. The park's usual warmth was replaced by a chilling breeze that seemed to whisper through the trees, urging them to turn back. But they pressed on, driven by the need to protect their city, their loved ones, and themselves from the creeping terror they had unleashed. The city's ceaseless hum faded into a distant murmur as the group hustled through the meandering backstreets, shrouded by the ominous shadows cast from the towering high-rises above. Their destination was the city's old library, a place where modernity seemed to have forgotten, yet tonight it beckoned them with the urgent whisper of unfinished business. The air grew colder as they approached, their every step resonant with the weight of their task: to find and recite a counter-ritual hidden within the library's ancient forbidden texts. Inside, the library was a maze of towering bookshelves and narrow aisles. The musty smell of old paper, mixed with the faint odor of decay, filled the air. David, with his flashlight leading, navigated through the dim corridors, his eyes scanning for anomalies in the patterns of dust that covered the neglected tomes. Mike's senses were on high alert, scanning for any signs of lurking danger, his body tensed and ready to protect his friends at a moment's notice. Elena's leadership shone as she directed their efforts, her voice a calm, steady presence amid the oppressive atmosphere of the library. Lila, with her deep connection to spiritual energies, whispered prayers and protective incantations, hoping to shield the group from the malevolent forces they had unwittingly unleashed. Sophie, though visibly shaken, managed to capture every significant moment with her camera, her lens focusing on the eerie beauty of the library's Gothic architecture and the intense expressions of her friends. As they delved deeper into the heart of the library, trust became their most valuable asset. Each shadow could be a disguised skinwalker, each noise a potential threat. The eerie silence was punctuated only by the sound of their own footsteps and the occasional rustle of paper as they searched. It was David who finally found the aged ledger containing the counter-ritual, its pages yellowed and writing nearly faded, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the library. Gathered around the ancient text, the group's collective breath fogged in the chilly air. Elena read the incantations aloud, her voice echoing softly in the vast emptiness of the library. With each word spoken, a sense of urgency enveloped the group, the stakes of their mission palpable in the heavy air. The shadows seemed to draw closer, an audience of unseen entities witnessing their attempt to rectify the chaos they had caused. In that moment, unity was both their weapon and their shield. Despite the palpable fear, there was a resolute determination in their actions, a shared resolve to end the nightmare they had inadvertently begun. The completion of the counter-ritual was marked by a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The oppressive weight that had blanketed the city seemed to dissolve, replaced by a tentative sense of peace. Their mission completed, the group shared a weary but relieved glance, understanding that the night had irrevocably changed them. Bonds of trust, tested under the strain of betrayal and fear, held firm, a testament to their strength and unity. As they made their way out of the library, the city around them began to stir back to life, the familiar sounds of traffic and distant chatter filling the air. Their relief was palpable, yet each knew that the shadows of the night would always hold new whispers, waiting to be heard. As the moon cast its pale light over the city, Elena, Mike, Sophie, David, and Lila made their way back to the origin of their nightmare, the city library. They moved through its ancient doors with a kind of grim determination, each step echoing ominously through the halls, filled with shadowed tomes and whispered secrets. The library, usually a sanctuary of knowledge, now felt like a battleground where the final confrontation was destined to unfold. Lila took a deep breath, her voice steady but carrying an undercurrent of fear as she began the counter-ritual. Her words, drawn from ancient wisdom and spiritual practices, seemed to ripple through the air, creating a palpable energy around them. Sophie, with her usual creative flair, had designed elaborate symbols and diagrams that they arranged around the room, turning it into a sacred space. Their glow cast eerie shadows on the walls, which seemed to pulse with a life of their own as the ritual progressed. The city outside continued its restless, nocturnal hustle, oblivious to the supernatural drama unfolding within the library's walls. As the ritual reached its climax, skinwalkers emerged from the shadows, their forms flickering between human and monstrous. Mike and David stood ready, guarding the group against the impending threat, while Elena led the ritual with fierce concentration, her voice blending with Lila's in a powerful incantation. With a final resounding chant from Lila and a precise placement of the last symbol by Sophie, the air shimmered as if reality itself was warping. A bright light surged through the room, enveloping the skinwalkers in its radiance. Their howls, filled with pain and rage, echoed through the library as they were pulled back into the void from which they had come. As the light faded and silence fell over the library once more, the group collapsed, exhausted but relieved. They had done it. They had banished the skinwalkers back to their dark realm. As they exited the library, the first light of dawn was beginning to touch the sky, painting the city in hues of gold and pink. The streets were still, the usual crowd of night dwellers, having retreated to the shadows from which they came. Walking back through the city, the friends felt a surreal sense of disconnection from the people around them, who remained unaware of the darkness that had just been thwarted. They looked at each other with a mix of exhaustion and silent acknowledgement. They had faced the unknown together and emerged victorious, yet changed forever. As they each went their separate ways, the city waking up around them, they knew life would resume its usual pace. But for them, the city would always carry a reminder of the night when myths and reality collided in the shadowy corners of an old library. They had looked into the abyss, and though they had driven back the darkness, the echo of its whispers would linger with them, coloring their nights with shades of mysteries yet to unfold.